Well, welcome back to another video, everybody. We're going to be doing a different rankings of QB team or QBs that we think will do well in fantasy football. So to give you guys a real quick rundown of what the list looks like, you have the people who you must start, who will be a solid option. So if you choose to wait later in your draft, they might be there. People who I think will be a 50-50, you might need to find another one of them to get a good matchup base to switch off of. People with a run-heavy team. That's only be a very limited few that we're putting in that one. People who will need to throw because their team will be trailing. So they are an obvious they're obviously you should start them, but the issue is going to be receivers, and we'll get into that more when we get there. And then people who probably shouldn't see the light of day as quarterback. Let's get into it. Pretty simple way to start this off. We're going to give these top 5 quarterbacks here are 5 out of the 6 most scoring quarterbacks in the league last year. And most of them you could grab in the middle of the late 2nd to 3rd, if not 4th round. And the people on the bench there, one of you, I don't even know if you can actually have the starting job, Nick. So you might not even be on this list. It should technically be your logo. The other 3, I don't know who's starting, so I can't tell you who to put there. And to be fair, the Giants can move up to probably here. Maybe even 50-50, depending, but the issue is they might switch their quarterback, which means you gotta waste a waiver claim or something else on that quarterback. Browns, let's be fair, the Browns quarterbacks haven't done really well in the recent history in the first place. And then the Saints, similar idea. I have no idea who's starting for you. You're not gonna get Kirk Cousins more than likely, because Cousins is in Atlanta. So I don't see you getting him. You're either gonna get one of the 2 here, one of the team's quarterbacks here, or you're running with what you have, and frankly, what you have sucks. So, none of these options are good. All of these options were fantastic last year. And let's be fair, most of them didn't change their offense. So why do I ever think any differently than where I'm sitting here? Now, there was somebody in the top 5 who is no longer in the top 5, and we're going to get to his grouping next. Next option there is solid option. These people are people who should still be starters on your team, but you can probably find them in the 4th to 5th, excluding Mahomes. People will probably still reach for him. But he was only like QB 8 last year, I think, or QB 9. So taking him really wasn't even worth it. Jaden Daniels was a top 5 quarterback. But history shows the sophomore slump is actually a thing, especially for QBs who did really well last year. See CJ Stroud as the most recent example. I worry that he'll have the same sort of effect. Now, they have improved his O-line. The weapons there aren't exactly the best. So I want to say solid option. I don't think he's going to drop too much, but I don't want to put him in a must start. Bo Nix, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy, again, all top tier quarterbacks. None of their offenses really. Purdy's offense changed a decent bit, but there's still weapons there, so I'm not super worried. Your big 3 are still there. I mean, dare I say 4, because Deebo Samuel didn't play a lot last year. But I think that's there. Moving on to this 50-50. 50-50 is probably going to be somebody around the 4th round here. 4th to 7th. You can still deem them a starter, but you might want to start looking for more of a matchup-based person after that. So let's get into them. All right, next for these 50-50 are people that you more than likely should be safe to start. You're just not going to have an upper-tier quarterback. Dak Prescott's on here because he needs to perform. I feel like he should be in the solid option. I just couldn't bear myself to put it there immediately. Because I didn't like exactly where he sits. He has 2 great weapons. The issue, though, is they don't do very well. But Caleb Williams must perform well this year. He can be up there in the solid option, but he has to perform. If he doesn't, I think the Bears are going to start to look to move on. McCarthy's in a similar spot with Sam Darnold, so he should do pretty well. Justin Fields, again, in a very good position to do pretty well this year. I don't see that going poorly. Geno Smith, I was hesitant to put here, only because I don't know what they're going to do, and I feel like he might need to go into the will need to throw a lot category because of the fact that their team's probably losing. Murray was a high-end quarterback last year, so I feel confident saying he will be a 50-50 starter. I just can't personally say he should be a solid option again. Drake May, again, sophomore slump. I was a solid option. I'm going to move him down to 50-50. CJ Stroud was a solid option. I'm not confident in his abilities to be a good fantasy quarterback anymore. And then Jordan Love's a similar situation of was good last year. You got him a receiver, but I still know how good your running game is. I don't know how much he's actually going to do anything. But we're going to get into these next 2 categories here, and there might have been some people I throw on the bench based off of that, but let me get into those really quick. And lastly here, we have run heavy and will need to throw. I chose not to play one of them in the bench category, but it's very simple. Steelers are a run heavy offense. The Chargers are run heavy offense. I see the Falcons running the ball more because they should with 2-star running backs. I see them doing that. Again, same thing with Kyren Williams and everything was his top tier running back. I see the Rams running the ball more. I see the Panthers being in a bit more games where they can run the ball, but I really did want to put him down on the will need to throw category as well. But the will need to throw ones are going to be very simple. I see the Seahawks being down a bit. If not, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this switch really quickly while we do this. There's that switch. Sam Darnold's going to be on a run-heavy team where I have to throw it all because the O-line of the Seahawks is absolutely awful. I see Trevor Lawrence trailing a lot. I'm sure he picked up Travis Hunter. I didn't know where he's going to play, so I don't think that improves Lawrence's odds to be a start quarterback. But they also need to get him weapons, and they're not doing that. Except for Brian Robinson. Or Brian Thomas. Wrong person. Either wrong person, man. Cam Ward, obviously. The Titans suck. He's going to have to throw. I just can't say with how much he's going to have to throw if he should be up here. One, it's a rookie. Two, he doesn't have anyone to throw to. Like, look at the receiving corps. It's absolutely garbage. They signed Tyler Boyd last year. I don't remember Tyler Boyd being relevant in fantasy football. Whenever he was a 3 in Cincy, he was more relevant. That's ridiculous. I don't know if Hill's still going to be there. I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's going to be there. So if that's the case, they're going to probably be down a bit. They're going to have to throw. They like to throw in the first place. So he's going to throw. The question though is, can you rely on him to be healthy? And can you rely on him to consistently hit his mark? Because that is something I'm not 100% sure on, and I can't say I like it. Again, and I've already talked about Young here. He can go in either one of these. If they're in the games, they're going to probably run a bit more. If they're not, he's going to have to throw. He's got some weapons to throw, but we've already seen them bench him once. What's to say they don't do it again? So let's be fair. It's a little concerning for this one, but I would say I'm very confident. I'm very, very confident. If you choose anyone in this must-start solid option, 50-50, 50-50 should more be 75-25, but we touted 50-50, so we're going to leave it as 50-50. I would be okay with getting any of these quarterbacks because you know the numbers you're going to get minus Mahomes. The only reason I say minus Mahomes is he's up here because of what he's done in the past, but I will admit my biggest concern is this O-line looks terrible. You lost Thuney. You really didn't replace anyone in terms of tackles. I worry that this O-line will falter so badly. We're going to see 2022, I believe, Mahomes, where he's running around like a maniac in the backfield trying to make a play. Now, he put up good numbers there. The issue, though, was you either got 3 points or you got 30 points. And you can't have that from your fantasy football quarterback when you need to win. So, he's here because of past performances and the name. I just don't know. But everybody else here, nothing changed here. Nothing changed here. Except for improvements here. Little worried, but not super worried. Again, highly impressed, or highly... These three need to perform vastly. Technically, these 4. But I don't think they're sold on Fields. I think Fields is just a rollover. Should perform pretty well. Should perform pretty well. Should perform pretty well. We need to see more out of him. We need to see more out of CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. Because, like, the fact that if I look at my list from everybody last year, Jordan Love was 37th in terms of points scored. Herbert was 26. Herbert's in a run-heavy offense. Why are you below him? You need to be higher, sir. So, like, that's my point, though. Like, Caleb Williams on that list. Oh, where was he? We had Purdy at 21. Caleb Williams was 32. So if he was 32 here, he needs to be top 10 at least. And that's why I said it's a 50-50. Because he's either going to do extremely well or Ben Johnson's going to run the football more. And if he runs the football more, that's when I say Caleb's numbers are going to falter. So that's the only reason he is so low is because of that. Now, I will admit, most of these other ones are pretty self-explanatory, so take them as you will. But we'll be redoing this as we get closer to draft days and everything. And we might even have names for these 3 and here. But with it being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will be getting over we'll be getting over to running backs in the next one. There will be a lot more running backs, obviously. I'm debating on doing it into an RB1, RB2. So I think that list not only will be longer in length, but there, of course, will be more photos. So we might be getting into that. Or I might just do RB1s because of how many there are. So thank you guys for coming here. I hope you guys come back for more fantasy football content, more Madden content, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Have fun.